Hey there, welcome back, everyone. This is the FloTrack podcast. I'm Kevin Sully. He is Gordon Mack. FloTrack podcast at gmail.com is the email address. Subscribe to the FloTrack podcast YouTube page. Usually Wednesdays are slow, but because the Boston Marathon, this Wednesday is going to be very busy. We put off a lot of stuff we were going to discuss on Monday, moved it to Wednesday. So we are going to do our best to get through this big run through this big list of agenda items that we have. Gordon, good morning. How are you doing?
Doing great. My Sixers are up 2-0. Game 3 is tonight. Prove all the naysayers wrong. No, I'm kidding. But no, it's been good. Boston Marathon was fun. Enjoyed doing a 3-hour podcast with you on Monday. Excited for this weekend. There's not much track going on this weekend. It's kind of a low key weekend with a couple college meets here and there. But obviously next weekend is massive with Penn Relays, Peyton Jordan, all that good stuff going down. We're actually going to be in Philadelphia next weekend, so that should be fun. And yeah, getting ready to start itching towards the summer where we start getting excited for Worlds and USAs and NCAAs.
My second trip ever to the city of brotherly love and my first trip ever to Penn Relays. I'm very excited. Countdown is on, Gordon. Put questions in the chat if you're watching live on YouTube. We also wanted to update people. We're not going to go into the Boston Marathon today because we did that 3-hour pod. Also, This Week in Track, I devoted the entire This Week in Track episode. That's right, Gordon. The entire 7-minute episode was about the Boston Marathon. I did 8 takeaways. So if people want more Boston Marathon opinions, thoughts, analysis, you can go there. Also on the site, as of this morning, a new Workout Wednesday. Ole Miss, Gordon. You picked this one. You said we got to do Ole Miss.
Yes, we got the video here. Let's put up the video. We got to work out with the Ole Miss Milers. Show that on the screen. Where is that? There it is. Boom. Yeah, with Mario Garcia Romo, fresh off his indoor mile championship win. The DMR didn't do as well as we thought they would at NCAAs, but they still had a good showing in the mile. They had a good showing in the 800. John Rivera ran well. Tyrion Corcoran ran well. And they're going to be one of the favorites to win the DMR, win the 4x mile at Penn Relays, which is going to be exciting. I mean, when you have a buttload of sub 4 milers and a buttload of sub 148 800 meter runners, you're going to have a good 4x8. You're going to have a good 4x mile. And so it's pretty exciting to check out what they're doing in Oxford, Mississippi, and be able to see them put all their hard work to fruition in Philadelphia when they go up against the likes of Notre Dame. All the Northeastern schools like the Georgetowns, Villanovas will be there. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, they are incredibly deep, and it's a long workout too, a longer session. So check that out on the YouTube page or on the site. Workout with the Ole Miss Men's Mile Squad. We got a new pickup contest this week, Gordon. That I think this one's going to go to plan. I don't think there's going to be any weird stuff with people dropping out or races not happening. I am confident this week's pickup contest is going to go off flawlessly.
Well, we say that, but every time someone has pointed out that all of our pickup contests, whenever we pick the result of a certain athlete, that result either DNFs or DNSs. So we're going all in again on another result. This time, Oregon men, well, I guess former Oregon men, Cole Hawker, Cooper Tier, Matt Wisner, and James West attempted to break the 4x mile world record. Ironically, a week out before the Penn Relays attempt at the world record. Well, so maybe they'll reset what the mark is, and then On Athletics Club will go out there and shatter Oregon's mark, which would be great. But yeah, 2 questions. First question, will they, won't they? Will they break the world record of 15:49? And then the second question is, who of those 4 will have the fastest mile split? Tier, Hawker, West, or Wisner? All I gotta say, if you out there and you pick Wisner to have the fastest mile split, it's a great
I love
zag.
it.
I would go.
I love it.
I appreciate that.
Well, maybe he's going to run first, and maybe that's when they're going to have a rabbit in the race. So who
Maybe, yeah.
knows? Yeah, I'm going with for the fastest split, I'm going with Cooper Tier just because I feel like he'll be able to go quicker alone, assuming he's going to be alone, and I'm assuming Cole Hawker's going to be alone. That was my mentality, but yeah, I think they're going to get it. Now, this is one of those weird things: world record, world best. The fastest time in history is 15:49, set by a team from Ireland in 1985 that had Eamon Coughlin, Marcus O'Sullivan, Frank O'Mara, and Ray Flynn. So there's some legends on that team. He doesn't get run that often, though. We're in a new era, so I definitely think that this mark will be broken. I could see uh, like a 15:47, 15:45.
Yeah, I feel like the market gets broken when you try. Like
Hmm.
we just haven't had a lot of 4x miles where you try to break the record. We haven't four by we all of our 4x miles, which are predominantly done at Penn. You're just trying to win. You're not trying to run
Hmm.
fast. And so these Cooper Tier and Cole Hawker can easily cruise to a 3:57 each, like jogging. They do that in workouts probably. And if you just do that and two other guys are running 3:58s, then you're breaking the record. So if Cooper and Cole are trying and they're running 3:52s, then it
Hmm.
becomes even way easier. I mean, there's a chance they could break this record with on their legs running over 4 minutes. Like I think that's possible.
Here are the splits. This is what Ireland ran: four flat, 355 3, 355 6, and then 356.98. So essentially a 357. So a four, a 357, and two 355s. I think that's definitely replicable with this group.
Yeah.
It's not easy, but it's replicable. And I think the bet here is that you're gonna get a nice little cushion from Tier and Hawker. You're gonna get them running faster than 55.
Yeah. I mean, we talk about there's breaking four now doesn't mean anything, right? It's now about breaking 3:55. And in that era where 3:59 isn't really that big of a deal, that means like they're going to run much faster than that. They're not going to go all out and run 3:59. They're going to go all out and run 3:54, 3:53,
Hmm.
maybe even 3:52. So
Hmm.
I think it's set up for them to do it. However, I think in my prediction contest, did I say they would not do it? I think I
Let's
did.
pull it up here. I think
I'm
you're
I'm
zigging on your own zag. This is
I'm
why.
zigging on my own. But this is how you win. This is how you win. You talk up one way and then you go the
Uh
other. And that's what I just did. I
huh.
talked up that they could do it, but then I'm going the opposite. So I'm going with a no, and you're going with a
Yeah.
yes.
What did you think of the idea of this race? The fact that it's happening when it's happening.
I mean, there was some people on the internet who were very astute with why are you doing this race when a week later there's another 4x mile world record attempt? Why don't you
Yeah.
actually race each other for the fans? Um, but I think they're doing it because what is it in for former Oregon athletes who train at Oregon to go to Penn relays when they could go promote their own meet, the Oregon relays? And,
Hmm.
like it's all about just promoting your own event as opposed to promoting the sport. This is not about promoting track and field, it's about promoting the Oregon relays. And there's no incentive for these guys to go to Penn.
Hmm.
They're gonna care about their own home first. So that's why it's happening. Yes, it sucks because we would love to see all the greats, right? We'd love to see Bowerman Track
Yeah.
Club put together a 4x mile. We love to see, you know, Pete Julian's group put together a 4x mile, but we don't get, that's just, our sport is an individual sport where
Hmm.
the incentive to collaborate for the greater good of
Hmm.
competition is just not there. There's no
Hmm.
collaboration clause in any of these contracts that these pros write. The
Yeah.
only clause is be top three at Worlds, be top three at USA's. That's the only thing, and break
Hmm.
a record. Like that's the only. Those are the three things that matter. The rest is window dressing if you feel like it. It's basically, you know, this we like it's basically like when professional basketball players or football players stay an extra year. Most of the time, they're staying an extra year out of the good of their heart, as opposed to doing what they should do, which is go pro. I think about Tim Tebow. Tim Tebow probably should have gone in the draft earlier, but he stayed for the extra year because he just liked football. He was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to stay in Florida. But the right move is to go get paid. Like, I would love for Zion Williams to stay in college for 4 years, but it's not going to happen. But if Zion Williams became this weird dude who really loved the sport of basketball, really loved college athletics, and he could be like, whatever, I'm going to be great for 4 years. I want to enjoy the Duke experience for 4 years. Fans want that. Duke fans want that. College basketball fans would love that. But Zion needs to make a decision for himself financially, not a decision for the fun greatness of watching college basketball, which is why people like Zion Williams go pro right away and they don't stay in college 4 years. In this situation, Cooper and Cole Hawker, it would be great if they could think about the viewers and care about what we want and put on a great show, but that's not what is written in their Nike contracts, to put on great shows. It's written in their Nike contracts to make teams and just live in a box until you're needed to perform, which sucks because our sport's individualized, and it's just, you need
I just thought it was funny.
Go above and beyond.
They put, yeah, well, you need a commissioner. You need a commissioner to say, hey, there's these couple meets that you're required to do, or each athlete, we are setting up this year at the beginning of the year, there's going to be a 4 by mile and these people have to participate, but there's just no ability to make that actually happen.
Yeah.
I just thought the tweet, right? The tweet was getting a little chesty there when they were saying like, we reached out to all these pro teams, right? Haven't gotten any takers, but it's like they're posting this in a few days before the meet, right? This isn't like January 1st, calling all teams, come to the Oregon relays to run to the 4 by mile. And there's already these established relay meets that exist, Penn,
A week
Drake,
later.
etc. There's not like this long history of tradition of Oregon relays 4 by miles that we all should have known about. Everyone is like ducking the competition. I also think you got all those groups like in your backyard. You got OTC Elite, you got Bowerman, you got Union Athletics Club, and those are all Nike affiliated groups. So if they can't be convinced to go there, how are you going to get these outside groups, other shoe sponsors in different locations to show up? I mean, those groups are 2 hours away. So it goes to your point about lack of collaboration. If you can't even get those entities on the same page, how are you ever going to broaden it and go wide? I will say, shout out on the graphic. I like this graphic. Let's zoom in. You got the flyer taped to the lamppost look, which I like. And then on the bottom where it's normally the phone number, right? For I do dog walking, or I can help you move out of your apartment. And then it has the phone numbers at the bottom. They have the time. Now, I don't know if this was a real flyer, how many people would have even associated that with the time
It is
in
not a real
Eugene.
flyer. It is not a
They,
real
they
flyer.
probably would have been confused. I know, but I'm saying if it was, Gordon, allow me to live in fantasy land for a little bit. I don't think they would have been like,
theater of the mind.
Yeah, Gordon, not in improv, Colt. You'd never be able to tell. More of a stand-up guy himself. Also, they're all wearing Oregon jerseys. What do you think about that? They're pro now?
Yeah, it seems like they're not in college. Like, they're like pretending like, I was like, wait, are these guys, is like James West still eligible in college? I was like, no, wait, no, he's pro. I don't know, is Matt Wisner in college or is he done?
I thought he was done.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Wisner is like a fifth-year senior. I don't know. It was kind of interesting. They're like, let's just pretend it's Oregon College, and I was like, it's not. It's Nike. It was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
This
Nuts.
this reminded me of those fake billboard tweets that certain colleges do. Like LSU always puts up a fake billboard Twitter tweet We're like, we put Mondo on a billboard. And it's like, no, you didn't. You photoshopped a graphic of him on a billboard canvas, photoshopped,
Hey,
and pretend it
hold
was a
on though.
billboard.
Hold on though. We saw a real billboard next to a real college team not too long ago, and I saw it with
Yeah,
my own
we did.
eyes, and I know it's real. A and
I know
T
that.
legit has a billboard right next to their campus, and
Yeah.
it's awesome.
But this photo, this is
Um,
not a real billboard. Look that. That's not real.
Oregon,
That is photoshopped.
Oregon does billboards around the town. I've seen those as
That
well
is
too.
that's
You're on
photoshopped.
this bill. You've been on this billboard crusade. Well, at least they're less ambitious. They're like, hey, we're just gonna Photoshop a flyer on a lamppost. That's where we're going. The other thing I liked about it, calling all calling all takers, as if there's four just people walking around Eugene who are like, hey, I think we could go 1549. You think we could do
Yeah.
it? So let's get all the frat brothers together and go out to Oregon Relays on Saturday night and see if we can do it. Um, yeah, I would
What do you
love to see them
think?
race on. I'd love to see them race Brooks. I'd love to see them race BTC. Like, there's just any number of groups out there that you'd love to see them race. So it's cool that they're doing it because I'd rather have them race than not race. But then you start thinking, well, they're going to race, they might as well race each other. What are we doing?
Yeah. But I'm not going to get all bent out of shape for them not doing this because this is like such a small issue with the sport that I'm not going to be like, oh, get all up in arms. It's like, wait, you're mad about this? You should be mad
Mhm.
about like a lot more than the fact that they're running a 4 by mile the week before another 4 by mile. I mean,
Mhm.
it. We just saw this past weekend. Speaking of like fake world records, we saw the New Balance women do like a fake world record in the DMR on their indoor track at the New Balance track. Like that's not real for the sport of track and field where you're just seeing who was in it? Heather McLean, uh, El Purier, just and a high school kid, Roisin Willis, do a indoor DMR world record. Now it's cool, but it's not real racing. They're just time trialing, and there's not really that much excitement to it because we just saw a world record. It's like these world records in these weird events. They're not real. It's just a bunch of American people making world records on the spot, because it's easy. It's not like breaking the 1500-meter world record or the 100-meter world record or the mile or like all these like established people have been trying to run this event for every year forever. How many pros are putting together a DMR? It's never competed, so it's not real. Same thing with the 4 by mile. They're not real, but they're fun. And I'm not going to shit on it because it's fun to watch world records. So I'm not going to be a little baby like, get back to me when you win an Olympic gold medal. No, but our sport sometimes likes to pretend that these world records are equal to other world records. You're muted. Muted, Kevin.
Sorry. Should indoor races in April be banned? I'll hang up and listen.
Yes. It's like, what are we
Okay.
doing? What are we doing?
All right, let's talk about other stuff then. Mount Sac. What was your big
Here we go.
takeaway? We had that epic 200. Coleman didn't end up running it, ran a relay leg instead, but we still got Norman Curley and Rye Benjamin. It was the last event of the day for the Golden Game section. Curley wins at 1980, comes from behind to get Norman just before the finish line, who ran 19.83.
Yeah, I mean, takeaway is Curley continues to establish himself as the guy. Um, I am starting to get a little. I'm not sure. I mean, Curley will know his body better than we will, but it seems like he is the only one out there just like hammering race after race after race with his. He ran his fast 400, then he ran a sub 10, then he ran a 20 flat, and now he's running this 19.8, and it's not even May yet. And he's just running times that people typically are running in June, July, August. Now, it just could be his talent is so good that he doesn't know how to run any slower or take his time because he's planning on running much faster in a few months. But
Yeah.
we're it's not normal to see all these quick times from a sprinter this early in the season on consecutive weeks the way Curly's doing it. Um,
I mean,
but hey,
4 races. It's 4 races. Let's put it in perspective.
but it's
If he
four
was still at
races that
A&M, he would have run 3 4x4s and 4 400s by now if he was in college. It's fine. It's
yeah.
fine. Let's
But
not
like
discourage people from racing a bunch. I
no,
like it.
I don't want to discourage people again, but like typically the top sprinters don't run this fast this early. They typically
Well, I mean,
they may run this early, but they're not run. They're like they run 20-0 multiple times, and then once they get to June, July is when they start running their 19.9, 19.8s, and then all of a sudden they pop their 19.5 in September.
I don't
Just
know
saying
though.
that's typically the progression.
Norman ran 43-4 at this meet. Now maybe that's not the best example because that season didn't end well for
Yeah,
him, but did it not end well because he was that fast that early? I think we always get into this trap of being like, "Oh, that's too fast too soon." But then there's never any accountability because at the end of the season, it's not like we go back and be like, "Oh yeah, I was wrong. Like they ran too fast too early." You remember the people who it doesn't work out for at the end, but I think we forget a lot of times the people where it does work. Like they were fast in the beginning, fast in the middle of the season, and fast in the end of the season. They just had it right. Um, I think Curly obviously has a decision to make. He said he's not doing all three, which is a bummer. I saw that in the post race interview. So I don't know if it's going to be, 1, 2, or what the combination is going to be, but he's got options. He's got
it's gonna be
options.
one.
He's clear. That's what I would be inclined to believe at this point. He has any sort of issue he had with the two is now gone.
Yes,
Remember
figured
last
that
year
out.
he was trying to figure it out. Didn't make the team in the two. That was a tough team to make, though. But then post Olympics and then early 2022, he's clearly figured out. I think this was a win-win, though. Then this was a good race for Michael Norman.
Yes,
1983, getting caught at the very end after the season that he had last year, the back half of the season. I mean, this was probably his best race since winning the trials in 2021 in the 400. If you go back and look at his races, it's been a while since he had one that he could really feel this good about. He ran some hundreds post Olympics, ran some fast times, won one of those races. Yeah, but going toe to toe with Curly and just losing it at the very end, even though he did lose, and running 83, I think is a good sign for Michael Norman. I think that's positive
yeah,
momentum for him.
I agree. And when you juxtapose this performance with like what Randolph Ross did this past weekend, Randolph Ross ran like a 45 point. So you didn't like go out and run a quick. You're like, I would take Norman over Ross right now, even though I was kind of leaning on
Really?
Ross based off the indoor season. I think I would. I think
Interesting.
1983 for Norman is, I would put him over Ross right now. Cherry, though, which we'll get into, he ran pretty well today. So
Yeah.
Norman, like, we just, this, the thing with Norman is he was so exciting and young when he came onto the scene. And we're like, this is the guy. This is our LaShawn Merritt. This is the next great, Michael Johnson type. He literally has his name, Michael, uh, type athlete. And then like he just had like whether it was an injury or just a bad
Mhm.
season, back to back to back, and you kind of like you don't want to believe in him anymore, right? So now you're kind of more hesitant to like put all your chips on Norman as the top 400-meter guy for the U.S.
Mhm.
because you just kind of been burned couple many times. But maybe Michael Norman is the Giannis Antetokounmpo, where
Mm.
you're getting knocked out in the first round a couple times. You're getting
Yeah.
eliminated by the Miami Heat, in the bubble, and then all of a sudden you're like, it's my time to shine, and you take over and you win the NBA title. Maybe 2022 is Michael Norman's Milwaukee Bucks of 2021.
He had this feeling of inevitability in the same way Lyles did in the early part of 19 because his 18 was so good. He runs the 43, 45, but then loses to Curly at trials. And you're like, okay, that was kind of weird. How did that happen? But they both run fast, and you're just like, all right, well, maybe he'll get it back. Because the idea, the expectation was, I always link Norman and Lyles together because of 2016 when they were in high school and they made that 200-meter final, and they were just so excited to be there, and they had so much potential. And the expectation or the thought with them was from the outside, and maybe from internally too, was they're not just going to win, but these are going to be people who break American records. These are going to be people who carry the torch of American sprinting to the next generation and make a whole bunch of teams, win a bunch of gold medals, again, rewrite the record book. But there's something in between that and then what we've seen. Because he could go back, he could just win gold. He could run 43.5. He maybe even doesn't need a PR again, and he could still win gold medals. That's a possibility too. But I think for Norman, just getting a solid 200. I mean, what's his 200 PB? 19.7. So he wasn't too far off of his personal best. He lost to, I don't even know where you put Curly in the 200-meter rankings, but I get the feeling with Curly, you could throw anybody out there and he would be able to finish in the top three. You could put like an all-star 200 field out there with like Bolt, Michael Johnson. Curly would be able to still get top three. So I think he has to feel good about it. I think this is positive momentum, but I want to see a 400 first. I want to see a 400 first before I'm completely bought back in.
Okay. So yeah, good races, I think, for Curly and Norman. Benjamin, that's solid. 2001. He's an
Yeah.
orange meter hurdler. Okay. Christian Coleman was originally on this start list. So there was a situation where Coleman told them, I will run your 200-meter dash. And then he says, no, I changed my mind. I'm going to run a 4x1.
Mm-hmm.
So he didn't say, I'm hurt. I can't run a 200. Why do you think Christian Coleman pulled out of the 200? Did he pull out the 200 because he didn't want to get smoked by Fred Curley?
I mean, he had run 200s this year, right?
Yeah. Did he not want Curley and Norman to like beat him?
Well, that's what I don't get though, because you'd think he signed up for the race knowing who was in the
Exactly.
race. But don't you think? This
Well,
isn't
maybe
like
not.
signing up for an all comers meet where you just put your name in and then you show up at the start line and you look to your left, you look to your right, like, oh, they're in the race. So I don't know. I never got an answer. Like there was never that I saw in the post race interview a question directly about that.
But
But
if
you
we,
just
I
said
bet you,
before. But hold on though. You just said before about people running too fast too soon, getting too much on them too early. And maybe it's not even about losing. I mean, that could be part of it, but maybe it's just about that pressure, right? And you know how competitive you are, not wanting to put that extra tiny percentage of strain on your body trying to beat people like Curly and Norman.
I just think if you're willing to fly 3,000 miles to run a 4x1 split, that's like kind of insane, in my opinion. Like, who crosses the country 3,000 miles to run a 4x1 split when you like, because he booked that flight with the run. He originally was flying 3,000 miles to run a 200, but he
Mhm.
so badly did not want to run that 200 against Norman and Curly. He was like, I'm willing to say that my purpose of coming to this meet, my purpose of flying 3,000 miles was to jog a 4x1. Like,
He didn't
there was
jog.
no need for him to, there was no need for him to be at that meet. He could have done exactly what he did in a practice.
But you
You
could
don't
say
get
the
any
same thing about
value in a
everybody
four by
doing.
one.
But
No,
you
you
could
get
no,
value
you
in a
could say I think you
no.
get value in a 4x1. Why do they all do it then? Like you had that Florida Relays situation where you had Holloway, Knighton, DeGrasse was running. There was a lot of big names running Florida
That's
Relays. Or sorry,
well.
not Florida
The
Relays.
difference there
Tom
is
Jones.
they all live there. They're all like
Yeah, his agents out
within.
in LA. I mean, you get an excuse to go out to LA. No one's going to complain about hanging out in LA. I mean,
I just think
I think you're overestimating air travel in the year 2022. A couple hour flight on a plane is not that big a deal. He's got miles.
it's not a couple
He's probably
hours.
sitting. in business code class. Yeah, Atlanta or Kentucky to LA. All
Again,
right,
it would make
four,
sense if
four or
he
five
was flying
hours.
across. It would make sense if he's flying across the country to match up with Michael Normans, a Ry Benjamins, a Fred Curley's. But he flew across the country to run by himself in a 4x1. That makes no sense. Why are you doing that? If you're going to fly across
Yeah.
the country, fly for a reason, and that reason be, I need to go up against the best in the world, and they're all there. Not, I need to go run a rinky-dink 4x1. Like, not enough people are talking about that. Like, this isn't like a 4x1 at a college in his backyard where it's like, all right, whatever, where you just hop into a college meet. That makes sense because, like, no harm, no foul.
Why though? No, 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 no. But why? Why does that make more sense? The reason you're saying it makes sense is one is closer versus being
Yes,
farther away.
100%. I'm
Yeah,
not going
but
to fly all the.
he could have
Kevin,
been there
imagine
for. But I'm saying, go ahead.
what Coleman is doing. It would be like you went to Hawaii, right? And I was like, oh, I got to do my podcast with Kevin in person. So I'm going to fly all the way to Hawaii to do a 1 hour FloTrack podcast with you. And you'd be like, that was not worth the trip. Now, I could justify it because I'm in Hawaii and I'm having a good old time. But say I went home for
Well, that's what
Christmas.
I'm saying with LA.
No,
That's what
Kevin.
I'm
All
saying
right.
with LA. You get to go to
No, no,
LA.
no. Hold on,
You
hold on,
get
hold
to,
on, hold on. Wait, say Christmas. I did a podcast from my parents' house. Would you fly to my parents' house to do the podcast with me?
I don't think this is
Would you? Would you?
an
You wouldn't.
analogous situation.
You would not do it
All
because
I'm
you'd be like, that's not worth the flight.
I'm
Why
saying,
fly
what did
across the
he end up
country to
running?
run a 4x1?
I'm saying, what did he end up running? Not where did he run it? He ended up running a 4x1, which is what a lot of people ran last week. So if we're gonna ding him, you got to ding a lot of other people who run in 4x1. But you
All
also
right.
got to give
No.
credit on the. You got to give credit on the flip side to the people who actually did show up and ran the individual event. You got to give credit to people like Curley, Norman, and Benjamin
Yeah, I
for doing
never
it.
did give.
But
I didn't give him credit.
just because he had to go on a longer flight to run a 4x1, I don't give him more credit than someone who got hopped in their car 2 hours to. What do I care about how they got there?
No, no,
I care
you're
who they're racing
misconstruing. I'm
about.
saying it's a negative to fly 3,000 miles for a 4x1. That is
For who?
that's bad energy. That's bad energy in my
For
mind.
who? For
For the
who?
it's like it shows
That impacts
weakness.
us.
It shows
Oh, wait.
weakness.
Weakness. Come on. Come
It
on.
does.
Come on.
It does. People in the chat agree with me.
Weakness?
People in the chat agree with me.
The,
I'm not even
the
looking at the
point
chat,
is
but I
he
just know
ran
they
it.
agree with me.
The point is you.
That's a top tier
Point
move
is he
right
ran a
there.
4x1.
That's a top tier move. The chat agrees with
I'm
me
not
without
looking in the
looking. Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
good.
That's like Steph. That's like Steph shooting the three and then turning away.
I'm just
No
saying,
lookers.
like you, it's kind of weird. Like, yeah, I'm like, what? Like, if you imagine like flying to a diamond league and being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to run a relay split. Well, it makes no sense.
Yeah. Listen, no, let me be clear. Let me be clear. I wish he ran. I think he should have run. I think it would have been
Yeah,
way better for the
he
fans.
should have
That's
ran.
what I'm saying.
Yes.
Yeah. But I think a lot of these people should be running individual events. And I don't think the fact that he was geographically farther away and then did a 4x1 changes the result versus somebody who could drive to a 4x1 down the street and run a 4x1 because they're still not running races that are individual races that are heads up competition. That's what I'm saying. I'm not going to
I'm just
ding
saying.
him extra points because he flew there. You're talking about it showing weakness and all this stuff. I think the end result is you look on World Athletics. There's no 200 time from him. That's the end result. Fred Curley's up there. Michael Norman's up there. He's not there yet. That's the end result. That's the end result. It's not, doesn't have anything to do with where the track is located and how many miles he had to use to get there. Don't care about that.
I just know right now in my U.S. rankings, Fred Curley's number one.
Uh-oh.
U.S. rank Fred
I've
Curley,
lost.
fastest 100-meter runner in the country over Christian Coleman. I had Coleman
Oh, in the 100?
number one coming off of indoors, but this is enough for me to say Fred Curley, he's got it. He's number one. Coleman's number two.
Using the scientific method there.
I mean, Coleman's probably not even going to run the USA's. Coleman's just going to run 4x1s and rinky-dink college meets until Worlds.
No, he'll run pre. He's got to run pre.
Okay. He's gotta. You don't have to do anything.
Nike.
Well, he can go and be like, "Hey, I gotta do another 4x1."
I mean, maybe he'll run it. Maybe he'll run it too.
It's
I don't know.
Christian 4x1 Coleman is my new nickname.
I
for him.
want you to tell me what the limit is. Like, how far is someone allowed to fly for a 4x1? You should send that out.
You're not allowed to fly anywhere for just a 4x1.
Nobody's allowed to fly anywhere for a 4x1. Well, you got to tell
Unless
that to
it's
the
like the
NCAA
world
athletes.
championship. Unless it's the world championship because that's your relay you're on. Or you're on a college team.
So you're only allowed to drive as a pro. You can only drive to 4x1s.
Correct. 100%.
Okay. What if you have like access to a private jet somehow? Then can you run a 4x1?
Track and field athletes have access to private jets.
Maybe they know a guy. I'm just saying, like hypothetically, maybe they're able to hitch a ride with somebody. Like
Yeah. Then yes.
Are you allowed to then? Okay.
That Usain Bolt can do whatever he wants. So yeah, if you're Usain Bolt, you can do whatever you want because you're just partying on the track. But if you're not Usain Bolt, you do not have the luxury to fly for 4x1s. You can run a 4x1, but you have to do an individual event, then do the 4x1. No, you can fly and do a 4x1, but you have to do an individual event as well if you're gonna do that. So if he would have ran the 200 and the 4x1, then I'll be like, all right, that's fine. But he didn't. He scratched.
Right. I just want to be straight.
He scratched the 200.
I want to be straight with this, so we're clear. I want everybody to know what the rule is now, as invented by Gordon. You cannot, as a pro, you cannot fly for just a 4x1. You can only run a 4x1 if you drive there.
Correct.
Okay.
I mean,
elsewhere at the Mount SAC relays, what else we got? Women's 2, Gabby Thomas got the win. She also ran the 100, where she got third. Tanisha Terry won that 100. 10:77 fast, plus 3.3, but still a solid mark for her. Men's 100, Makai Williams, wind aided 983. And then men's 4, you mentioned before, another 44-second run for Michael Cherry.
So let's go. First of all, Cherry keeping that 400-meter streak. Love it. Kenny B ran his 45.3. That's pretty good for being a 200-meter guy. I think Cherry. I'm really tempted to think Cherry is the guy over Norman and Ross, because even though Norman did run well, Cherry though 44.2. It's not like he ran out there and ran 4.49. He ran 44.2. That's pretty. Getting close to 43. That's a really good season opener. 44.2. That's quick. And Randolph Ross, he ran a 45 at I think a Florida meet. So I'm more leaning now towards Cherry. I remember I put him on is he a LaShawn Merritt or Tony McQuay? He's getting closer to a Merritt right now. We do got to talk about our boy Elias Garcia though, the mythical 988 man. He ran 10:11, which is not that bad in the 100.
Made the final.
Made the final. Runs 10:11 in the final. He beat Raymond Iquevo, excuse me, former Florida athlete who's good. Aaron Brown, I think he ran at USC. He's pretty good. He was in it. I mean, right half a 0.01 behind Kyrie King. Kyrie King has made world teams on the 4x1.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
He still has a lot of work to do, but hey. Yes, he did not run 988, and we knew that. But he's basically he's a 10. He's probably going to run 10:07, 10:06 this year. Is going to be his final time, which is legit. I mean, it's not 9.8 like Michael Williams is doing, but it's legit.
Yeah, and to even make the final, he had to beat some big names. He ran 10:17 in the prelim, which was wind legal, so I was just off his PB, and then he goes and gets 6th in that final. Yeah, I mean, this just confirms what we thought. Not 988, but fast. And he said last year he was.
I'm not 988, but I'm fast.
I mean, that's the reality is that the 2/10 there in between 988 and the 10:1, that's a whole world of difference. And that's where he's at right now is 10:1. But a great story. He was working the meet last year. He was working at the Mount SAC relays, and now he's running it and making 100-meter final. So
That's
pretty
pretty
cool
damn cool.
story for him. And yeah, congrats to him.
I'm a Garcia fan. I want him to do well. I want him to find a way to make the U.S. final. That'd be cool. What if like
Yeah,
Garcia finds a way to make a U.S. final? Weird things happen. He finishes 6th, and all of a sudden he's on the 4x1. Like that'd be
okay.
wild. That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It could happen.
Should mention Dos Santos in that 400 ran a big PR to run 44 and change. Look out for him. He's going to run against Ry Benjamin soon in the 400 hurdles. I don't think we're going to see Benjamin Warholm before World Championships, which is a bummer. Obviously, I want to see that 7, 8 times this year. But Dos Santos Benjamin is going to be good. Um, let's see those women's
What do we?
hundreds. It's pretty. I mean, Terry
Oh,
10-7.
Lane,
I know it was windy, but that's pretty good. Oh, and then Elaine Thompson ran the prelim. All right, well, hold on. How long are you allowed to fly to just run a prelim? What's the rule there?
Have to run a bicycle. Bicycle
I
only
was
prelims.
when I saw Lane Thompson Herod not run the final, I did get a little annoyed. I was ready to give her the same energy I'm giving Christian Coleman right now. But I'm willing to give Elaine Thompson Herod the benefit of the doubt because she probably signed up for this as like, I'm coming here to run the 100
Yeah.
and not expecting Mount Sac relays to turn this into like everyone and their mom gets to run the 100. So we're doing 2 rounds.
In
And
the final.
I think you should not be expected to run heats. I think what they should have done, this is what I think what they should have done. Elaine Thompson Hurrah should have saw the start list and she should have called the meet director and be like, you know who I am. My name is Elaine Thompson Hurrah. I am not running your fucking prelim. Put me in the final. And that's what they should have done. They should have said, Elaine Thompson Hurrah. She should have told them, I'm only running 1 race.
Yeah.
So just put me in the final. And that's what they should have done.
I wonder if you could get more takers. Now, this would go against track's egalitarian ethic here, right? There's belief that we're all equal, got to make your way in. But what if you just held 2 spots?
Yeah.
And then the other 6 have to run in? I wonder if you'd get more takers in some of these hundreds where there's heats and final. Now, a lot of people like it because it gets them ready for the championship part of the season.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's going to impact a huge group of people, but it would have been fun to see Thompson Hurrah in that final. She didn't even lean, though. She was totally on cruise control. And the time would have been windy, but you'd think she would have gone in the 10.6s already. I think you're partially upset about this because I set the over-under at 88 and went over, and she ran 89. And that was my only good prediction of the last
She
month
would
and
have
a
ran
half.
10 set. She would have ran 10-7 if she was just only in the final. And I think the meet director I think Elaine Thompson Ron 1 should have communicated, I'm running 1 race. She knew she wasn't running no final.
Well,
she was going
that's what I'm saying.
So she should have told them, I'm just running 1 race, guys. Do you want me in the final or you want me in a prelim? And then they could have solved it.
And there should have been, that it would be cool to have that level of communication. And there's certain athletes out there that you would do it for, and there's certain athletes out there that you wouldn't do it for. You know, are you an Elaine Thompson Hurrah, or are you exactly.
Are you a what?
I mean, you wouldn't do it for, even though Shericka Jackson's a bronze medalist, I don't think you'd do it for Shericka Jackson, right?
I was trying to get you to name a name. I was just trying to get you to name a name.
It wouldn't be, but this is the thing, though. Track, it's about fairness, right? You kind of treat everybody equally, even though people always immediately focus in on the times when some rule was misapplied. And I'm saying that happens quite a bit. I'm not saying that doesn't happen. But if this was other sports, they'd be like throwing money at Sha'Carri Richardson and just be like, hey, can you run anything here? 100, you can start at the 20-meter mark and then run the 100. Can you do that? Like they would, if it was another sport, they would just figure out a way to get the stars there. So you'd say, hey, if you had Shelly-Ann, if you had Elaine Thompson Roth, you had Sha'Carri Richardson, you put them in you do whatever you could to get them in your race, and then everybody else, run in. You'd have to run your way into that race. But that just goes against what track is about. But I wouldn't be mad at it. I don't want to see that in championships.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not fair in championships.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not a is not a championship. All right. The distance stuff.
I don't even want to talk
Hopple
about
ran
it.
a. Well, hold on. Let me just run through it real quick to make sure.
I want to get to the real stuff.
Hopple caught somebody at the end. Sanchez here in 146. I mean, Raven Rogers though 158 debut.
That was good.
Looked pretty good. Yeah, looked pretty good. Because we saw the situation, she didn't run indoors, except for that DMR, right? That was the only DMR thing she ran, or the only race she ran. Which they ran that during the legal DMR section, and you're allowed to fly to a DMR because it's not a 4x1. Is that right? That's fair.
No, that's stupid too. Shouldn't fly for DMRs.
Okay, you can't.
No.
So that doesn't count. That doesn't count. Anyway, so let me start this over again. Rogers goes 158. We didn't see her individually indoors. We saw Aji Wilson. She was great. So I think what we have now is, Rogers and Wilson both trying to close that gap to Keely Hodgkinson. And then there's that gap from Keely Hodgkinson to a Thing Mo. Like right now, there's those three tiers. And there's other people in the Wilson-Rogers tier right now, like Natoya Gould. But Rogers, if she continues at the trajectory opening with the 158, maybe we see some 56s this year, some 55s.
Yeah. It was good seeing. I'm been sick of seeing 2s in the 800s. I want to see some 1s. I need some more sub 2s. So the fact that the women's 800 was a sub 2 finally, I was like, thank God. I'm sick of seeing 2 flats and 201s and 202s. We finally saw a sub 2. And Raven Rogers looks good for him. 58, closing 60, looking pretty good. Sinclair Johnson 201, good for her 1500 meter strength. Sammy Watson 202. But I think we need to get to the meat of the weekend, man. We haven't even talked about it. We let Golden Games take over this pod.
Well, you wanted to talk about
take over.
Yeah, you wanted to talk
about the college kids,
man, for an hour.
We got to talk about the college kids. There were so many collegiate records that brought down. We had the men's 4x4 Florida. They ran 258 behind a pro 4x4 team, which actually had a really interesting team. It had Grant Holloway, Arian Knighton, Quincy Hall, and who was the fourth guy? 400 meter guy. I can't believe I forgot his name.
Stephen Gardner.
Yeah, Stephen Gardner. Stephen Gardner fans are going to be upset that I forgot his name because I disrespect Stephen Gardner. But that was a wild 4x4. Seeing Florida just like they run 258 and it's like no one's talking about it. It's kind of wild how they're just turning sub 3s for college kids into just like, yeah, we can average sub 45 across our 4 guys. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But that was an impressive collegiate record. Then we had the big one at Brian Clay in the 1500, Ilya Kipsang. What do you think about that? I'll give people.
I thought it didn't shock me. Brian Clay's been fast, and we talked about how quick he was last year. He'd be running, crazy times in prelims last year, and he had always that good competition with Hawker and with Yared Naguse. And in this race, he had some pros to chase, right? He ran down Will Paulson at the end there. But he's been good for a while. He hasn't had an NCAA title moment. Like he's been in finals. He's been better in the regular season than he has in the championship part of the season. But yeah, this didn't. When I saw a headline, I was like, all right, that makes sense. But it was impressive to run down Paulson. Like we're showing it now. This last 200 meters, that's a pretty decent gap there.
Yeah.
And Brian Clay, I guess, is home for kickers. Like if you want to kick somebody down, Brian Clay's the place to go because he was quite a ways back and ran down.
See him in the picture.
Paulson, yeah, and he's looking behind. Maybe the home straight is just really long at Brian Clay. Maybe it extends throughout the race, and that's why, because he gets him here right in the final 2 or 3 strides clicks his watch as he finishes. But yeah, 3:33 didn't surprise me. I mean, that's equivalent to what Hawker and Tier were running, last year in the mile. So to have the collegiate record right at a converted 350 for the mile seems about right.
What's your order of your 1500 right now? With Mario Garcia Romo, the mile champ, Kip Sang, the collegiate record holder, Yar Nagus, the defending 1500-meter
Mm-hmm.
top finisher. He didn't win, but
Yeah.
he's top finisher. And then Giannis, the South Carolina kid who's run 3:35 last summer.
Oh,
Jordan.
Anis Isai.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna pick against Abdi Hamid Nur, so I'll go Nur 1. I have him tripling. I'll. I'm gonna wait. Have we seen Nagus?
No, Nagus has not run yet.
Okay, so that concerns me. If I had seen anything from him, I would go back to Nagus because I don't want to overreact to indoors, just like I didn't want to overreact with bowling's result at indoors. And that proved to be true because now he runs sub 10. But I don't know. So not knowing, I'll go Garcia Romo 1 and then Kipsang 2, Nagus question mark.
So the crazy thing about that, see, I kind of agree with that, but Garcia Romo lost to the South Carolina kid like a week or two ago. So everyone has like a strength and a weakness, which makes that 1500-meter final going to be really exciting because I think all four of the SEC final is going to be wild because three of those four are going to be in the SEC final, and we're going to get a lot of data from that race. But yeah, it's exciting to have another collegiate record holder in the 1500. I feel like the mile and the 1500 records are broken every other year. Nagus broke it last year. Now Kipsang breaks it this year. It's just kind of wild. But that was cool. Now that was a good kick, but the best kick was also at that meet. Did you see this kick in real time or no?
Talking about the men's 5K?
Yeah, the men's 5K.
Yeah, we talked about it on Friday's pod.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay,
so you talked about SECs. You talked about SECs. I think we should figure out at one point which SEC final is going to be the most SEC final of all the SEC finals. Because men's 15 will be good, but you usually think about sprints. And when Favor O'Feely ran 21.96 in the 2, you got to think between her and Steiner, it's going to take something special to win that race. And SEC teams, they don't really hold back at conference. They want to win that meet. I'm very excited about the women's too.
Yeah. O'Feely running the collegiate record in the 200 in this year is kind of wild because she's running the collegiate record the same time that we have someone like Abby Steiner who we know is going to break it. And so she's breaking it right before it's about to get smashed, which is kind of similar how like the Oregon men are breaking this 4x-mile record right before On Athletics will do it a week later. But yeah, now I'm excited for that LSU Kentucky battle in that 200. The fact that O'Feely, fourth time, got it wrong. O'Feely, the fact that she can run sub 22 just makes me think Abby Steiner's running 21, freaking 7 or 6. I think she's going to smash it, whatever it becomes.
It also is weird because I don't know if you want to get into the Bowerman discussion, you usually don't like to talk about that, but it would be, say that the record, like say 21.96 holds, but Steiner still wins NCAAs. Long shot of that happening. The record holding, not her winning NCAAs. It'd be weird for her to win Bowerman in a year when she doesn't get, someone else gets the collegiate record. Just kind of a strange thing.
Yes, that would be weird. But, Bowerman's notorious for doing weird things, as we all know.
Yeah, we don't need to blame that. But if other people have nominated, Chaz, you're talking about Chaz, right?
They gave the Jerry Lawson over Chaz.
That was a joke. I've heard you talk about this for as long as I've known you.
This improv.
If people have, All in the Game says LSU now has the women's 1, 2, and 4x1 collegiate records. If anybody else has a nominee for what the most SAC race is going to be, let us know. We are taking nominations until that meet happens. I'm all in on the women's 2 collegiately. I'm all in the women's 2 for the U.S., and I'm all in the women's 2 internationally as well. Women's 2 is going to be awesome this year. All levels. If you have a chance to watch a women's 200, you should watch one because it's going to be exciting. You have, again, Ophelia and Steiner. Then when you get to the U.S. level, Gabby Thomas, throw Steiner in there. All the other people, Prandini, Tamara Clark, Navia Battle, etc. And then internationally, obviously add in Thompson Hurrah, Fraser Price, Mboma, Dean Asher Smith, Kambuji. Like the names go on and on and on and on and on. Loving the women's 2 this year. Big fan of the women's 2.
So it's not a FloTrack pod without talking about NAU. They did something very unique that we didn't talk about on, was it Friday night that they did this? Yeah. So there are top 4 guys, Abdi Hamid Nur, George Kush, Nico Young, and Drew Bosley. They run a fast 1500. Nur runs the school record, runs 3:36. Very fast time. Would be like second in the NCAA right now. But they run that at 7:45 at Brian Clay in Azusa. Mm-hmm. And then they get into a car. They drive 20 minutes, or 30 minutes with traffic, whatever, to Mount SAC relays. And then they run a 5K at 10:30 p.m. at night. So they run 2 races at 2 different meets, all within less than a 3-hour span, with legit times. I mean, they run their all-out 1500s, and then they basically all jog a 13:42 to qualify. Have you ever seen this happen where you see an athlete or a group of athletes compete at 2 different meets in the same day? Has that ever happened? And not just compete, but compete at a high level. They swept the 5K and they ran extremely fast 1500s.
I can't think of any, usually because there's not things located that close to each other that are going on. I mean, that's literally a 50. In terms of LA driving, that's a really easy LA drive. Boom, just hop on Grand Avenue. You don't even need to get on the freeway. You're there. So making it in under 3 hours is pretty straightforward. But yeah, I guess it speaks more to the fact of just the number of competitions that were available in this certain location. Do you think that part of them thought, man, since we're driving, like we don't even need to do a 5K, why don't we just do a 4x1? Like there's 4 of us, and Gordon says it's okay if we do a 4x1.
Hey man, you know I'm right on that take. You're ruining the reaction to this segment by bringing up old news from previous parts of the podcast. This is about Nur running 3:36, and they're putting 4 guys at 13:42. I think they now have 6 guys who are now qualified in the 5K. It's pretty insane. But Nur's 3:36, that kick, combine that with we know what he can do in a 5 and a 10. Nur is, in my opinion, a heavy favorite to pull off the double.
I was only kind of joking about him in a 1500. I know he's not going to run it, but if he were to run it, I wouldn't count him out.
Yeah, it's like Cooper Tier in a 1500.
Yeah,
he's a 5K guy, but
he ran a good mile indoors too. We didn't pay much attention to it because of all the other stuff he did indoors, but he ran a really good mile. We didn't really talk about the men's 100 though. Do you want to talk about that? Just as I'm interested in the women's too, the men's 100 NCAA level. So we talked about Makai Williams, 983 plus 2.5, but beats some solid names there. You had Matthew Bowling run 998 legal, his first time sub 10 legal. And then Devontae Burnett in another section at Mount SAC runs 999 wind legal. So you have 3 guys under 10 seconds in the NCAA right now. I mean, even if you adjust Williams' time for the wind, he's still going to be well under the 10 seconds. Who you taking right now? Burnett, Bowling, Williams?
I think this is going to be my hot take. None of them. I'm taking none. I think the favorite is going to be Williams. And I think the second and third favorite would be Bowling or Burnett. But I don't think I'm not on the Burnett train, even though he did win indoors. I don't know. I just think there's wild cards out there. I think Terrence Jones is a wild card, even though he did get beat by Bowling. I still kind of it's a little bit he's the wildest of wild cards. I think Sean Masanganwe, we're all forgetting. He did run 10-10, so he's moving up. He had a bad indoor season, but Masanganwe is an Olympian. He can run a low nine. He can run a low nines, in my opinion, if he gets it together in the next few months. And then also Joseph Fambula is also a wild card. So I'm going with none. I think it's going to be a Masanganwe or Joseph Fambula show. That's what I'm looking. That's what I'm leading on. But
I mean, Masanganwe just lost by like 0.2 to Burnett.
Yeah, but Masanganwe, if you look at his progression, he's been a little bit behind. He had a kind of a shitty indoor season, but he got second last year, and he didn't break. This early last year, he ran 10-18, and now he's running 10-11. So he got second last year to Terrence Laird by like 0.12 of a second. And then 2 months later, he gets second at NCAAs. So I think Sean Masanganwe is kind of thinking, longer term. He's just not there yet. I think after regionals, you're going to be like, ooh, yeah, I think Masanganwe is kind of maybe in the mix again. That's what I'm predicting. I think he's just slow to move up.
All right. So. Well, I'm taking Williams. I'm not going to overcomplicate it. He ran 6.4 indoors, had the false start. Last year outdoors as a freshman, third at NCAAs, and then goes on to get fifth at the Olympic trials.
He's definitely the favorite. I agree with you. Williams is
I don't want to overcomplicate things. I think he would be. I don't know what your rankings say. Number one, is he number one on your rankings?
On my rankings, he is.
He should be. Although those things, that's a fraudulent document. If not,
where do I have him? He's number 2. I have Burnett number 1.
Okay, Burnett. And that's fair. Yeah. And listen, that's fair. Burnett won the 60, and it's not his fault. People false started, and he goes sub 10. So Burnett is a worthy number 1 right now. I would pick Williams in a race right now between the two, but Burnett has looked pretty good. He's looked pretty good. I wanted to talk about one more race before we go, though.
You got to talk about the twin race.
No, you can talk about that.
No, we got to talk about this. We got to talk about this.
I want to talk about a fast time, though.
But we can talk about that. Let's talk about this. Is important. This is history, okay? We had twins, Sean and Scott Mason of Air Force. Click on the image so you can see the thing and zoom out, whatever. They both run 14 flat 0.14. Zoom out a little more so you can see the time. There it is. Twin brothers in the exact same race run the exact same time. That has never happened in the history of track and field. That is a moment. They need to frame this result, put it in a Smithsonian, track and field Smithsonian. But how do you do that? How do the twins pull off an exact same time? That's insane.
Across the
You're not impressed by that? Time? What's that?
Same heat?
Same heat, same race, exact same time. That's kind of incredible.
Was it planned? I'm guessing it was planned, right?
Do you think the brothers planned to tie? No. The last thing you want to do is tie your brother. You want to beat your brother.
I don't know. I didn't see the video of the race.
Would you ever want to? I would never want to tie my brother. I would want to beat him, especially my twin brother. There's no way they wanted to tie. They definitely, the last thing they wanted was a freaking tie. They wanted the other person to have a loss, and they freaking tied because they're twins, and it's insane. It's weird. It has this, that thought where like twins can read each other's minds.
Yeah.
Now we know twins can simulate exact same marks. It's kind of wild. I don't know. I thought that was a crazy thing.
I
Twins
went
run
to
the exact same
college
time.
and I ran with twins in college. One ended up being a lot quicker than the other, but when they first started running with us, they were still getting into shape. So they were in lockstep all the time. And then we had trouble figuring out like who's going to be the faster one. Um, and then one got quite a bit faster than the other one. But they were both ahead of me, so they might as well have like way ahead of me, so they might as well have been running the exact same time. And when they were doing tempo runs or even interval work, a lot of it they were just in lockstep the entire time, and it had to be pretty intimidating for people who were up there trying to compete with them because there were two of them. Great runners, both of them. Yeah. I want to see the video of this. I want to see the last 100.
Like if they're all out sprinting and
Yeah, versus if they're holding hands crossing the line. Like you've seen that before where people like cross the line together.
I don't think
They
twin brothers are holding hands crossing the line. That's not
I
the
don't know.
way brothers are. If anything, they're
Yeah.
punching each other. So
All right.
what's the last
Can we talk
result?
about
Yes.
I wanted to talk about Cherokee Young, and the people in the chat predicted it too because they started talking about. But that was literally who I was going to next on this thing. 48.87 at Tom Jones.
No,
Remember she ran the 50
49.
flat.
49.80.
49.87. Sorry, 49.87. She was 50 flat at the dual meet with Texas. So she's building up quite a resume here. Young is not just in terms of the NCAA, but where she sits on the world list. On the latest rankings, the world individual rankings, I had Young in third behind Miller Weibo and Paulino. And I think that's it's justified. You look at the marks that are coming in from all around the world so far. I think that's right where she's at. Now the question is going to is with all these young 400-meter runners who are in the collegiate system is can they hold it? The good thing is worlds are easy or early this year, not easy this year. Worlds are early this year. And I know there's always talk about the schedule and how it impacts different types of athletes. You have to think that that's going to favor NCAA athletes. Now, some people will tell you, well, you can come down and then come back up again, like what Holloway did in 19. He managed to win gold despite starting his season in January, and his season ended basically in October. But I think in this case, I think it's a good thing that it's going to be on a shortened time schedule for people like Young.
Yeah. I'll admit I was kind of a doubter on the Young train. I was off it. I wasn't on it. But anytime you see someone run a 49 anything, you have to believe it. And there's just something different about seeing 49, 9, and 50 flat. Because she ran literally 50 flat, and I was kind of like, yeah, it's another 50. Like people run 50 flats. But now she's running 49s. She's only going to improve. She is definitely a wild card. She's a world championship wild card now, not just like what could she do at NCAAs or her national championships. But I think there's a good chance that we could see an NCAA champion medal in the 400.
Yeah. Yeah. So the other ones, let's see. We had a collegiate record in the women's hammer, men's decathlon. Courtney Wayment ran 9:26, which is number 3 all time, and then Moad Zahafi of Texas Tech 143 in his first year at Tech. So he's a name to watch.
143, man.
Yeah.
Brandon Miller was in that race too. Brandon Miller was finished like third or fourth.
Well, it's got to be dispiriting when a guy flies by you looking like he just got tagged in to run the last 200, which is how Zahafi was running that last 200. Or like he looked like he was in the wrong race. And I looked up his marks from last year before he came to Texas Tech. He ran everything was between 44 and 47. And race after race after race, like he was locked into that. So the 43, it makes sense that he's able to do that. If he's a 43 type guy, it's going to be awfully hard for Miller and Jones and those other runners to keep pace with that. And that's just this tough part about the NCAA. It could be your time, and then someone like this comes in, and then you realize, oh man, this is a different level. I'm not going to be able to get there yet. Now, it's early. 800 is weird with the rounds, and maybe Miller can match that. Maybe he can, but it's not going to be a smooth path to a title outdoors. It's going to be tough.
Yeah, it definitely is an unconventional finish for Miller, especially with the new expectation we were kind of putting on him after kind of easily won the 800 indoors. He's now thinking bigger things like making a U.S. team, which is very hard to do in the 800. Um, I, I'm siding on that. There was something off with him that race, as opposed to be like he's losing it because he's so young. There's no way he's like
I don't think he's losing
on the
it.
yeah.
I just think you're going with a guy who's running 143. It's tough.
But I also
It's
think
tough.
Brandon Miller was planning on running 143 in June. Like, I don't think he was trying to be like a 144 guy this year. I think he was trying to be a 143 guy. So now that there is a 143 guy in your state, not
Yeah.
not that they run a state championship in college, but nearby in the NCAA, it's gonna be more of a motivator because if the next best guy was a 145 guy, he probably runs 144.9 for the win. But now
Yeah.
that he knows he needs to be a 143 mid to 143 low to potentially win an NCAA title, it's gonna motivate him. John
Here's what I'll
Rivera had a
say.
good race too for Ole Miss. Just want to shout that out.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. Brandon Miller and Zahafi. The presence of Zahafi, bad for Miller's NCAA aspirations, good for his world championship aspirations.
Yes,
It'll get him ready. It
100%.
will absolutely test him and get him even sharper. So even if he doesn't win it outdoors, I still think he'll be able to turn around and a couple weeks later make the team, and it might even make things not easier, but he'll be even more prepared because there's 143 guys he's going to be racing for a spot on the team this year. That is a mark where if he hits it, you'd feel good that he can get on the team, and then if he doesn't hit it, it's going to be tough because there's a big bucket of guys who are in that 44 range. You get to 43, smaller group.
That's the pod. Like,
That's
subscribe, follow, do your thing. We'll be back here Friday morning, 9 a.m. Making it happen.
Central Time. Yeah. Yeah. If we missed anything, leave it in the chat or send us an email. We probably did. It was just the week
So
a little bit
much.
off because of Boston. So we're kind of try to get to as much as we could. Did not anticipate the digression into 4x1. Someone said good pod after the first 20 minutes. So I agree. with that. Went the wrong way. But we'll chat about it all on Friday. Join the pickup contest if you could. Put that QR code if you're watching on the video. You can enter to win prizes, of which I'm not sure what they are, but Gordon probably knows. Do you know what the prize is?
Fanatics gift
Gift
card.
cards? Gift card. There you go. Awesome. All right. Watch all the stuff on the site too. The Workout Wednesday, This Week in Track. You got the ranking shows coming up as well too, and then another pod on Friday, 9 a.m. Central Time, live. Thanks to Colt and Travis. Talk to you guys then.